In the summer of 1518, a peculiar event took place in the city of Strasbourg, located within the territory of the Holy Roman Empire, leading to approximately 400 people falling into an uncontrollable state of dancing for several weeks. This event, known as the Dancing Plague, is estimated to have resulted in the deaths of more than 100 people due to their inability to cease dancing for days or even weeks on end. It all began on July 14, 1518, when a woman named Frau Trophäa suddenly left her home and started dancing in the streets. She continued for several hours until she eventually collapsed from exhaustion, sweating, and convulsions. Despite this, she resumed dancing the next day and the day after, seemingly unable to stop. Soon, other individuals began displaying the same behavior, with approximately 400 people joining this dance that lasted for 2 months. No one could explain why these people lost control over their actions or why the dancing persisted for such a long duration. Ultimately, this unusual dance party resulted in the deaths of up to 100 people. The bizarre event known as the 1518 Dancing Plague remains inexplicably mysterious even after more than 500 years, with scientists still unable to fully explain its cause. This dancing plague is a historically rare phenomenon, with various historical records describing the epidemic, offering us perspectives to understand this unusual pandemic. The dancing plague began with Frau Trophäa starting an intense and distressing dance marathon, marking the onset of the epidemic. Despite her extreme exhaustion, she was unable to sleep at night. No matter how much her feet were injured or how much they bled, she seemed unable to control herself, repeating this painful cycle daily, leaving her husband and onlookers greatly perplexed. Those who witnessed Frau's dancing could not find any rational explanation and started to suspect that she was being controlled by the devil. Some claimed that she was unable to resist the demonic force gradually taking over her body due to her sins. However, as time passed and people began to publicly denounce her, many townsfolk started to believe that her uncontrollable dancing was guided by some divine force. According to local legend, St.Vitus, a martyr from Sicily in the year 303, was believed to curse sinners to dance endlessly if he was angered. After several days of non-stop dancing, and with no one able to explain her uncontrollable urge, Frau Trophäa was sent to a towering temple in the Vosges Mountains, possibly in an attempt to atone for her supposedly committed sins. Despite this, it did not stop the spread of the dancing plague. Reportedly, about 30 people soon took Frau's place, beginning to dance uncontrollably in public spaces and private residences, unable to stop just like Frau. Reports indicate that, at the height of the dancing plague, up to 400 people were dancing in the streets, and this chaotic state lasted for about 2 months. During this time, many people fainted from extreme fatigue, and some even died from heart attacks, strokes, or sheer exhaustion. It was reported that at the peak of the epidemic, more than 15 people died per day, resulting in a total death toll of about 100 people. However, regarding this astonishing story, some skeptics have raised doubts, questioning how people could continue dancing for weeks with hardly any rest. To gain a deeper understanding of the authenticity of the 1518 Dancing Plague, it's essential first to distinguish between the historical facts we know and the rumors that have circulated. Modern historians have confirmed the occurrence of this phenomenon through extensive documentary evidence, especially based on local records from the time, which allowed experts to understand the dance plague for the first time. Among these sources is a record left by the medieval physician Paracelsus, who visited Strasbourg 8 years after the epidemic occurred. Additionally, numerous records about the plague have been preserved in city archives. A portion of these records describes the situation at the time. A strange disease has recently broken out among the people, causing many to fall into madness, dancing non-stop. They danced day and night until they fell unconscious, and many died as a result. The chronicle written by architect Daniel Specklin is still preserved in the city archives, describing the progression of events and noting that the city council concluded the bizarre dancing impulse was the result of overheated blood in the brain. The records in the Strasbourg archives regarding the dancing plague state, in their madness, people kept dancing until they fell unconscious. Many died. In response to the epidemic, the town council initially took what seemed to be a counterintuitive measure. They encouraged the affected townsfolk to continue dancing, possibly hoping they would dance themselves to extreme exhaustion and naturally stop. For this purpose, the council provided public spaces for dancing and hired musicians to accompany the dancers. Some records indicate that the council also hired strongmen to support or lift those dancers who were exhausted and might fall and trip others. Despite these efforts, the dance epidemic did not come to an end. Subsequently, the council adopted a completely opposite strategy. They began to believe that those infected were affected by the wrath of a certain saint, so public confessions were held in the town, and music and dancing in public places were banned. According to the city government's records, those who were delirious were taken to the temple of St.Vitus, located in a cave on a nearby hill. There, the patients had red shoes placed on their feet and were led around the temple in a procession holding a wooden statue of St.Vitus. Weeks later, the dancing epidemic miraculously came to an end. As to whether these measures truly had an effect and what exactly caused this epidemic remains a mystery to this day. There are many different theories and explanations for the cause of the 1518 dancing epidemic. 5 centuries later, historians and scientists are still exploring possible reasons. One modern explanation is that the sufferers might have been influenced by a fungus known as ergot, which can form black sclerotia on infected grains, causing consumers to experience hallucinations, convulsions, and mental disorders. Although ergotism is thought to potentially trigger delusions and convulsions, it also leads to a drastic reduction in blood supply, which seems to contradict the behavior of people dancing for long periods during the dancing epidemic. Therefore, the real cause remains an unsolved mystery. Historian John Waller proposed the view that the 1518 dancing epidemic was actually a manifestation of mass hysteria in the Middle Ages. He analyzed that the harsh conditions faced by Strasbourg at the time, such as extreme poverty, rampant disease, and famine, could have triggered a collective hysterical reaction among the residents, leading them to express their psychological stress and discomfort through dancing. Waller suggests that the widespread belief in the supernatural in the region may have exacerbated this collective psychosis, subtly influencing those experiencing hysteria to express it through dancing. This behavior is closely linked to the legends of St.Vitus and his associated curse of dancing. Centuries before the Strasbourg dancing plague, at least 10 similar incidents of dancing mania caused by unknown reasons were already documented. Sociologist Robert Bartholomew mentions that during those times, reports also included instances of nude dancers and inappropriate gestures, even more extreme behaviors. The nature of this plague shares significant similarities with these actions. It is said that the dancers, upon noticing bystanders unwilling to join their dance, might resort to violence against these onlookers. The dancing frenzy incidents occurring in small towns near the Rhine River were closely associated with the legend of St. Vitus, to whom the region showed especially fervent and widespread devotion. Waller refers to the belief environment theory proposed by American anthropologist Erica Bourguignon to explain this phenomenon. This theory suggests that so-called spirit possession primarily occurs among populations and regions deeply believing in the supernatural. This deep-rooted belief prompts believers into a dissociative psychological state where they may lose normal consciousness and exhibit irrational physical behaviors. Waller further explains that a societal environment deeply convinced of supernatural phenomena makes individuals susceptible to the influence of others' dissociative states and extreme behaviors. He suggests that viewing the dancing mania as a situation triggering widespread psychogenic illness could explain why the phenomenon affected so many individuals. The authorities' decision at the time to concentrate the affected people into specific areas of the city was intended to control the spread of the condition, but might have exacerbated panic and imitative behavior instead. Seeing others dance, residents could associate with their own sins, fearing they might become the next cursed individuals. What do you think caused this epidemic?